Hi, I'm Kate
Hi.
Panova. I'm an immigration activist and journalist, and I got lots of questions from immigrants. And we're going to talk to you about immigration court and asylum and how to understand percent of denial if you got like an immigration judge, and whether you should move to another state or another city. And we'll be talking with, please tell us about yourself, Ismail.
Yes, my name is Ismail Shahtakhtinski. I'm a principal immigration lawyer at ISLAW firm and the founder of ISLAW firm. I've been practicing immigration law for more than 15 years and with a primary focus on handling asylum cases, both affirmatively and in immigration courts.
Okay, so I never had an asylum case in my life. I have a green card through another process, and that's only my personal knowledge. And I have got lots of questions from other people who know me and who keep asking questions or kind of wonder. So we're gonna talk about how you can get how you get end up in the immigration court, like what are the numbers of denial rates for specific immigration judges, and Ismail, so is it really bad if you get assigned to a judge with like 96% denial rate? Is it like, should I just kind of, I don't know, kill myself or something?
No, not necessarily. Actually, it might be a good thing. Depends on the specific types of cases that this judge has been handling in the past, in which court this judge has been listening to asylum cases, what types of cases have been assigned to this judge in the nearest past or in the recent past. So there are so many different factors, so those numbers necessarily don't mean anything good or bad about the specific judge or the court.
So if the immigration judge has 96% denial rate, that's not a lost case for the immigrants.
Of course it's not. No, of course it's not. I mean, the most important part is to prepare thoroughly, to prepare the testimony, evidence, experts for the case, to properly answer the questions, present the documents, and to colorfully and in details and interestingly present your case to the immigration court and immigration judge.
Okay,
That's the most important part.
So if I get an immigration judge with 14% denial rate, meaning like more than 90%, like around 90% of the immigrants actually get asylum with this immigration judge, should I be partying and like just kind of not prepare my case because like it's a done deal?
Absolutely not. That's not the case. I mean, this judge may have handled those cases that, had like high very well-known individuals with, I mean, again, it depends on so many, which courts they were presiding in and what type of cases they were handling. And, having the judge having 90% plus approval rate doesn't mean that you're going to be one of those 90% plus cases. It depends on the type of the case. And it may be that this judge is now more inclined on denying cases because their approval rate is so high. So
to balance it out, so no reason for optimism. Yeah. So if my immigration judge has 90% approval rate, no reason to be happy.
Absolutely not. It's the specifics of. I think it's more dangerous to rely, again, in some circumstances that might be good indication, but it's more dangerous to rely on this than to tell everyone not to rely on these numbers. Rely on preparing for the case, evidence, testimony, how you presented, who's your lawyer, how well they are prepared, how well you're prepared for the case. That's what you need to focus on. Not on the numbers, not on the statistics, not on what other people are telling you.
Okay, and so if I have an immigration judge with very high percent rate, like in Houston, there's a judge with 100% denial rate. Should I just find friends in Honolulu, in Hawaii, and pretend that I live there?
No, absolutely not. Don't do that. First of all, as if you use the word pretend, that means no. Don't do it. A lot of people get caught. They don't reveal that. They're ashamed of it, and that's why there is this, there is this impression that only those people that actually didn't get caught, that it's okay to do, and then it's easy to do. No, don't do that. Lots of people get caught by lying to the immigration courts about their real address, their real physical presence. It's just that the information doesn't get revealed to the public because they're not proud of it.
So I'm just kind of curious, how do you get yourself into immigration court? Let's start with that.
So there are three ways to end up in removal proceedings, which means in immigration court. So the term removal proceedings and deportation proceedings are interchangeable; they're the same. And so in the removal proceedings, you can end up if you file asylum application, and if you had asylum interview affirmatively, and if the USCIS did not grant you asylum, they don't formally call it denial, then your case gets referred to the immigration court. As long as you don't have any underlying status other than pending asylum, lawful presence based on pending asylum, then you will end up in immigration court, where you will have a chance to prove your case to immigration judge and ask for asylum. If not, then you will get an order of removal. So that's one way to end up in immigration court. The second way to end up in removal proceedings in immigration court is if an applicant arrives into the United States through the border and voluntarily surrenders at the border checkpoint, asks for asylum, then they get detained, they get interviewed for credible fear, and if they do have positive credible fear, they end up in immigration court. If not, they can request a hearing for the credible fear, although the second process is about to change, and actually they started from this month, slightly changing the process where those who arrive and voluntarily apply for asylum at the border will not be automatically referred to immigration court. They'll have a chance to go through affirmative process. But in the end, the process is still the same. The third way is if the immigrant is in the United States and they don't have a status and they get detained, whether they get detained due to criminal history or criminal charges, convictions, or they just get detained because they're out of status, or if they cross the border undocumented without inspection and they get apprehended at the border, then they will end up in immigration court in removal proceedings.
Okay, to sum it up, you go to immigration court if you got denied by United States Immigration Service when you had your first chance to get if you came here on tourist visa, let's say, and applied for asylum. And the second chance is if you mess up on the border, I would say that, or you didn't have a visa. Okay, gotcha. And then when does the immigrant understands that he or she gets an immigration, who is the immigration judge? Is a way to learn that? Who's your immigration judge?
Yes, so there are three ways to learn who's the immigration judge. When the immigration court hearing, the initial hearing is scheduled, then the immigration judge, that means that the immigration judge is assigned to the case. So one of the ways, which is the more modern way, easiest way to determine, is to look up your immigration court case online if you write down immigration case status or removal proceedings case status or EOIR case status. If you look up on Google, you'll see the link and you can put your A number, and by A number you'll be able to see whether your case is in immigration court. First of all, if the A number is not found, that means your case is not in immigration court. But if it's found, then you will see which court your case is in, your removal proceedings, and which immigration court, and whether you have a hearing scheduled already, what time and date, and the name of the immigration judge assigned to your case.
Sorry, is there a website that people can look up this information? What is the website?
Yes, so the website, as I said, I don't have the entire link from the memory, but you can look up immigration court case status or EOIR case status. I forgot to mention the other way is calling 1-800 number for EOIR system. It's a bit outdated, where you basically enter your A number on the phone. The better way is to look up online, and also your immigration attorney, immigration lawyer in your case can have separate access through Department of Justice portal, which we have access to, where we can look up more details about the case, including the history of the case. So the regular online case status is not going to show you the documents being filed, or will not allow you to retrieve the documents in your case or look at the history of the case. But the EOIR portal that we, the lawyers, have access to will show us the documents in the file. We'll be able to pull your notice to appear and review your case, entire case history.
Okay, gotcha. So I just wanted to show this to people. Like, I'm going to share the screen for a second, and here we are. So this is the website, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
And that's the A number, 9-digit number that you should enter.
So if you have an immigration court, you can actually enter your A number in here, and once you submit that, then you might see who is the immigration judge.
Why don't you type any random number? Let's see what pops up. Starts with 200. Let's say with 200.
Okay, 200.
Because I know that they're about there now. Yeah. Let's see if something pops up.
Okay.
It's very random. It's almost like a lottery. But today actually had something like this happened.
Okay.
Yeah, look. So we don't know who that is. It's not our client. So no confidentiality issues. It popped up the case. So as you can see, the next hearing information, that's where your hearing information is going to be. Decision date. So in this case, what it shows is the history of the case. It shows the decision that the case, how it ended. So it was a decision and then court address. And then if you scroll lower, there is a case appeal information. No appeal has been received, and so on and so forth. So if this was a pending case with the immigration judge assigned, if you scroll up, the hearing date, next hearing information, that's where it's going to be. The date of the hearing, the time of the hearing, and then at the bottom on that top left section, it will show the name of the judge assigned to your case.
Okay, gotcha. Well, poor Villalobos Pineda got deported, I guess. Well,
yeah, it was ordered removed.
Yeah, and it was way in 2006. But we hope that that doesn't happen to other people. We're very sorry for that.
Well, I mean, there are some people that deserve, unfortunately. So you never know.
Yeah, but anyway, so now that I know that who is my immigration judge, and by the way, so if I don't see the immigration judge there, what does it mean?
Well, that means your case hasn't been assigned to a judge. Accordingly, you don't have an immigration court date yet. So typically, you cannot have a court date without a judge. You can have vice versa. You can have the case assigned and then the case canceled. But usually, even if the judge cancels the hearing and they want to reschedule it, you're not going to see the name of the judge.
Okay, gotcha. So now I know who is my judge, okay? And that's high time for me to understand my chances, right? So I go and we already talked about it. I'm going to share you we're going to give you the link and I'm going to share the screen and show you where I can see the statistics, the numbers of the denial rates for a specific judge. And you look it up by the court, like by the city or town where it happens. Okay, so here we go. There's the statistics on the website of Syracuse University, judge by judge, asylum decisions in immigration courts. It's called Track Immigration, it's a project by Syracuse University. So I know that Ismail is located in Arlington, right? It's
I practice in all immigration courts. Yeah. It's I'm in most of these courts I've been, and I have cases actually all over the United States. So I wouldn't say most of my cases are focused in Arlington. It's just physically the closest courts to our office are Arlington and Baltimore.
Okay, so Arlington, do you recognize any of these people?
Of course, yes, most of those judges.
So you've seen those judges. So it seems like, for example, Matthew O'Brien has 96% denial rate. And, if somebody that was my guess. I'm not a lawyer, but I would guess, oh my God, I don't want Matthew O'Brien because Matthew denies 96% of cases. And poor immigrant, not lucky, huh? And on the contrary, we have Paul Schmidt, who only denied 8% of the cases.
I wouldn't rely on this. I mean, not because I think Syracuse University did a great job and I rely on the information they got, but that doesn't indicate the prejudice of the judge or the chances absolutely of your case. it could actually be vice versa. The judge with a higher denial rate statistically may be better for your case, and I'll explain why. But if you look up information on the same website of the Syracuse University, they actually bring an example of a judge who practiced in one immigration court, who sat on the bench in one immigration court, who had about 14% denial rate, and then in another immigration court, the same judge had 90% denial rate. So that judge didn't change his or her mind. Well, I think it was a lady, but it didn't change her prejudice or opinion about immigrants. It's just the type of the cases that these judges handle have a lot to do. The location of the immigration court has a lot to do with the number of the cases that are getting approved or denied. Whether the types of the cases have mostly immigration attorneys, lawyers helping the individual aliens has a lot to do. So there are so many different factors, ingredients in getting to the result in an immigration court case that these I would not rely, and I don't recommend to my clients to look up these statistics and put all of their eggs in one basket that, oh, this judge is great and that's why I'm going to get my case approved, or vice versa. And here's why. A lot of these judges, they rotate, they circulate, and there are immigration courts on the border at the U.S. border with Mexico, where lots of applicants from Latin American countries, they arrive to the United States, they get apprehended, lots of them claim
El Paso, for example, right? I'm looking at the El Paso statistics, and El Paso is a border town in Texas, I believe, right? And it's 99%, 99.2% denial rate.
Yeah, and that's because vast majority of individuals coming to the United States, no matter what you want to believe, do not really deserve asylum. They're coming to the United States because for economic reasons. It could be someone who just wants to make some money and then work on some jobs, make better, economical living for themselves. They don't necessarily even want to stay in the United States. They want to work here. A lot of them are repeat arrivals, meaning somebody has been deported before and then they jump off the fence and do it again. So that's why those denial rates in those courts are significantly higher. And a lot of judges do get transferred from one court to another, and a lot of them do get transferred to those border courts where they are reviewing those cases. So that's significantly affected. The judge spends 1 year handling those cases in El Paso, and then they get back transferred to the Arlington Immigration Court. That's going to significantly affect that judge's statistics. And vice versa. So it's not, and it's also types of the cases that those judges handle. There are judges in Arlington that lots of my political opinion cases, and I don't have access to their backstage to know exactly whether this judge gets assigned a lot of those cases that are political opinion cases from former Soviet Union countries or from Eastern Europe and so on. But that's what I see that a lot of them get, and those cases are, have more chances of getting approved than granted asylum than those cases that are from Latin America, gang violence cases, or just economical opportunity cases that claimed asylum because somebody told them that if you claim asylum, you'll have a chance to talk to the judge. So that affects a lot.
Okay, so I understand, if I understand it right, so of course, we love immigrants here. I myself am an immigrant, Ismail is an immigrant, right? But asylum is not for everybody, and lots of people try to claim asylum. Maybe they have other ways to immigrate to the United States, but really doesn't, if I understand it correctly, so the judge is not bad for denying lots of people, right? It doesn't speak to this.
It's not bad. It could be a really good liberal judge with a really good, and I'm not differentiating between liberal and conservative in terms of political sense, but I'm talking about, it could be a very detailed judge who is very sympathetic to immigrants, but they're not going to violate the law or their ethical obligations to enforce the laws. If they have discretion, yes, there is. I'm not saying the judges don't have certain predisposition somebody may be sympathetic to immigrants, somebody may not. And to a certain degree, that may affect their decisions. If there is a discretion, one judge can approve one type of case, the other judge may deny the same exact type of the case. But again, that's so negligible, that's so it has such a little influence on the case compared to other things that people can focus on, the applicants and their attorneys can focus on, rather than these denial rates or approval rates. They can focus on getting more evidence, preparing arguments, preparing evidence, bringing witnesses, gathering affidavits, gathering, country reports, bringing experts to the court. And a lot of times these judges that in my experience, that had significant denial rates, it was because they've been handling the certain types of cases where they're kind of similar, boring cases that somebody just claims asylum, they don't have real basis. And when you bring a case to them that you present it in a more colorful way, in a more detailed way, and you're very well prepared, those judges actually get excited, and they want you to put your case on, in the basket of approved cases, because they don't want to have 99% denial rate. So you want to highlight your case. You want to prepare thoroughly. And, as I said, it could be double-edged sword. And the judge that has most denial rates may be the best judge for your case, because, again, they see this run-of-the-mill types of cases that they're denying because those applicants that get assigned to this judge don't deserve. And somehow your case ended up with this judge, which had this significant number of denials in the past. And now, you have this colorful, interesting case. I mean, I've had these experiences, not once, many times, with judges which had like 5% approval rates, where I presented the case and I observed how judge was, not in a bad way, but eating everything out of our hand and listening and getting, very deep into the case and analyzing it to the great extent, because they also get excited. They also want to hear the real case and real story and real basis for asylum. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's an information, the statistic rates, but don't rely on it. And sometimes it could be absolutely vice versa. It could, flip what you should be relying on. So the judge with the highest denial rate, could be the best judge for your case. But again, there is not much really you can do about it. Of course, you can move to another state, but we're going to talk about that. But don't move to another state just for this purpose. But we'll talk about that more.
Yeah. So,
but again, what I'm saying is, I want to finish with one important point is that I tell my clients, don't look at it. If you want to discuss this judge's denial rates with me, that's fine. Let's talk about this. I'll tell them if I know this judge. Most of these judges, as I said, in Arlington, Baltimore, and in many other courts, I've had experiences with over 15 years of working in immigration courts. I know a lot of those judges. Not that it does any difference that you're the lawyer. I mean, thankfully, we don't live in a country where knowing the judge helps your case. But
it doesn't? So also, hold on a second. So if your lawyer knows the judge, aren't you're supposed to kind of, at least if the lawyer knows the judge, how the judge judges, right? No?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Well, that's what I meant. I didn't mean that the judge is going to do me any favors because I'm buddies with that judge. You know what I mean? That's not that doesn't happen. I mean, maybe it happen. I don't know. It doesn't happen as often. But anyway, or at least so. But knowing the judge, of course, the lawyers, as I said, knowing the judge helps in the sense that knowing how to approach this judge, how what this judge wants to hear more, what is their focus, and so on. And we do share information with other attorneys as well. A lot of times people ask me about, my colleagues ask me about, my experiences with that judge or another judge, and so on, and vice versa. So that helps. But again, that's also not as important as the basis of your case, the facts of your case, how you're going to prepare and answer the questions, your testimony, the testimony of witnesses, country conditions, expert testimony, the evidence you provide. It's much more. It's 99% of your case and maybe 1% of your cases, that kind of information, such as statistics or this.
Okay, I understand. I come from a family of scientists and I have a STEM degree, so I really love numbers. So when I see those numbers, I'm mesmerized by them, and I really want to move to, let's say, Honolulu, where the judges, they, let me show you the rates, right? So let me show you Honolulu. I love the idea of going to Honolulu because the judges there are really nice, it seems so, right? Let us see. I'm just scrolling through the database. I live in Charlotte, and in Charlotte, if I were to go to immigration court, it seems that my chances are pretty bad. Like, the best judge, Roger Harris, still kind of, 82% denial rate, 83, yeah. But if we look at Honolulu, it seems like it's a nice place to be. Hawaii, but like even that, like, 40% denial rate, and
maybe you can magnify the screen a little bit. The spreadsheet is too small.
Yeah, so Honolulu, we have 2 immigration judges and pretty good, like, low denial rates, high approval rates, right? And oh my God, and look, Houston on the other end we have Bruce Imbakun, and there's like 0% of approvals. Wow. Okay. So, like, if I were living in Houston and I had an immigration court here with Mr. Bruce, I would actually move to Honolulu. Like, so is it like a good idea? Is it a good idea to actually find, like, you say, hey, I moved to Honolulu, but not move to Honolulu, just kind of stay in Houston and like pretend that I live in Honolulu? I got a lot of those questions from.
Well, let's first talk about what these rates. Again, it depends on this specific judge. Where this specific judge worked before, coming to the Houston Immigration Court, what types of cases are assigned. Maybe they're handling specifically, cases of with individuals who have criminal backgrounds. As I said, there are so many different factors. Now, in terms of Honolulu, I don't have, again, access to the backstage to tell you, or to the mind of each judge, but you can think about this logically. So let's analyze this logically. Honolulu, Hawaii. It's one of the most expensive places to live, right, in the United States. One of the most expensive.
Have you been to Honolulu? I haven't.
I have not. It's expensive. I mean, I'm going to go actually this year. My wife and I were contemplating between trip to, let's say, Honolulu, to Hawaii and Dominican Republic. We ended up looking for now Dominican Republic. We're thinking about going to Hawaii too, but it's quite expensive. Just to get there is expensive, but to live there, in terms of work, employment opportunities, they're not as much for, immigrants who are, not as sophisticated jobs. So in Hawaii, it's not an industrial country, industrial state. So there are not that many employment opportunities, and the cost of living is so expensive. So you think about this, the immigrants that live in Hawaii are most likely somebody who is well off financially. What does that tell you? Number one, they probably can afford a very good immigration lawyer to represent them in immigration court, which has a significant impact on the outcome of the case. So the decision, if they have an immigration lawyer, not just experienced immigration lawyer, but also just having an immigration lawyer is already a big plus, because at least they know what to do in terms of how to prepare the hearings and so on, how to provide testimony and country report conditions and so on. But, aside from that, immigration lawyer, living there is expensive. So a lot of those probably applicants in Hawaii, they are financially well off. It might be more of the political opinion cases. Somebody who is, usually there is such a factor here. And I always tell my clients, if somebody who's financially well off and they are here in the US, not for purposes of earning living, but because they had to be here, they had no other way, and they were doing really well financially in their country, that improves chances of their cases approved, because it's just a human factor. When the judge looks at the case and they see somebody came to America and they were living in very poor conditions in their country, there's always this human, suspicion in the back of their mind that maybe they're here because it's better economically here. Maybe they're here, they're earning, $10 an hour, where in their country was $1 an hour or $1 a day. So what I'm saying is it all plays a role in the outcome and the decisions of the cases. And cases in Honolulu, Hawaii are probably have more chances of getting approved, not because of the judges, but because of the types of cases that end up there and types of immigrants that end up in Honolulu.
Okay, so rich people go to Honolulu, okay? I got it.
Not all of them, but yeah.
Yeah, that's like our kind of hypothesis, I would say that, yeah? So we assume that that's going to happen. So we talked about how going to another state might not be an option.
Not yet, no. That what we were talking about was whether to rely on this data. We were talking about Houston Immigration Court versus Honolulu, and Houston Immigration Court, whether it's
and let's share the screen though, because Houston Immigration Court sucks in my opinion. Look, there's nobody with less than 88% denial rate. Nobody.
Well, there is one which is, I see, 2.8% denial rate. No, vice versa. I'm sorry. No. Go up.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. No, you're right. Okay.
Okay, I'm right. Houston Immigration Court sucks. Okay, so all the denial rates are pretty high, regardless of the judges. There are a lot of judges. It's probably a very big court, right? So what should a person do if he or she lives in Houston and every denial rate is very, very high, regardless of the judge? So should the person move to another state? California, New York, DC, where the judges are liberal and and they kind of like immigrants, and they, given all the factors, they would love to kind of give them asylum and let them stay in the United States. What's the strategy in there?
Well, again, I mean, as I said, I wouldn't put all my baskets in the one egg that this statistics. I wouldn't rely on these statistics, not because it's unreliable data. No, I think the Syracuse University did a great job and they continue doing that. It's just, as I said, it's because that doesn't necessarily indicate the chances of success in your specific case. So my position, different from many others, is that no, don't change your court unless, again, consult with your immigration lawyer and about the specific judge and the court, and then make the decision. So looking at the statistics, I wouldn't say. I mean, I've had great successes in Houston Immigration Court in the past, so I wouldn't say that these judges are necessarily negative. Now, I'm not saying that there is no specific, prejudice or sympathy towards immigrants or against immigrants in the minds of the judges. Unfortunately, they're all human beings. I mean, thankfully they're human beings, but unfortunately, human nature has that, not just in immigration judges, but in every type of judge. So there is this factor, yes, but that's not determinative. But now let's say your lawyer told you, yes, this judge is not the best judge for the type of the case that you have. What you should do. I'll tell you what you should not do. Number one, do not, use fake addresses, or do not use your friend's address or so on. Do not do a fake move from one state to another.
Okay,
but if you have...
Can you explain me, Ismail? So I know lots and lots of people who do that. I have actually friends who have done it, and they received asylum in New York City, and they were living in Florida. And they used to live in New York, and then they moved to Florida. And then their immigration attorney, who wasn't you, who was another person, he told them, no, Florida, has the judges there are not that good. So let's stay in New York, and I'm in New York, and the judges are better in New York. So we'll just pretend that you still live in New York. Is it not okay to do that?
It's not only not okay, but a lot of these lawyers get disbarred. But that's from immigrant standpoint, a lot of these applicants get revealed and their cases are denied, even if they have real good case, the case is going to be denied because the government, if they do a thorough job, they'll find out that this person doesn't reside there and they're using fake address. And I understand you have friends who have done it, but as an immigration lawyer, I also see a lot of applicants who come to me after they get, their case gets transferred because they found out that the person didn't leave, and that didn't live in that place, but they didn't change address. And if the government is not stupid, I mean, that's federal government, it's U.S. government. Anything you do leaves some traces. They can track you down and find out where you actually physically reside. Not just through questioning, but also through background searches. I mean, simply, using. You live in one state, there are so many different things that you do, whether it's you're paying utilities, lease, you have a phone bill, or you have, cellular company, you have internet. You do a lot of things. You use your credit card, and it leaves traces as to where you physically live. I'm not saying this how to hide that information. I'm saying just don't do it. Don't use the fake addresses. Don't use the friend's address and live in another state. And I understand you said that you know someone who has done it and their lawyer told them, or maybe you know more than one person, but I also know more than one people that do a lot of crazy stuff and they survive. That doesn't mean it's a good idea. The problem is that those who get caught, they're not proud of it. They don't reveal.
They don't talk about it, and
they don't talk about it. Yeah,
survivor bias. So everybody would say, "Hey, so I got asylum, and that I did those and those things," but nobody would say, I was denied because I lied, right? I never heard
exactly, and that creates this unfortunate impression in the minds of people that it's those that lie actually can get asylum, or those that have fake stories, or the same situation with the fake marriages. There is people that get caught in fake marriages and get deported. They tell their friends that, or not necessarily get deported, but they have to leave the United States forever. They tell their friends that, oh, I got a better opportunity in some other country, or I'm going back to my country because now, I have a good job opportunity there. They're not going to tell their friends that I lied and entered into this fake marriage and I got caught, because they're ashamed of those things. That's why, unfortunately, it creates that impression that things work out if you lie, and every lie doesn't get caught and so on. And it's same thing here. So how does that affect if the government or the immigration judge catches that this the applicant doesn't actually live in the state, but they're just keeping it for whatever purpose it is, that affects significantly, damages the credibility of the applicant. And the best evidence in immigration court in asylum cases is the testimony of the applicant. I've gotten asylum for individuals who had not a single documented evidence or anything else other than their testimony explaining what happened to them and why they fear persecution in their countries. And guess what? If they're caught lying about their address, that damages their credibility, if not destroys it. And in that case, then they lose the biggest evidence in support of their case, which is their own testimony.
So the judge would say pretty much, okay, so this person, he's lying that he lives in New York City, although he lives in Alabama, then of course he's lying about other stuff. So I'm not going to grant asylum to this immigrant.
Exactly, and then that's what the government attorney is going to argue in opposition to the case. In the new jurisdiction, when they get caught, the case is going to be transferred to the new jurisdiction, to the new immigration court. So, for example, your friend who lived in he lived in Florida, didn't tell. If they get caught, their case is going to be transferred to Florida, and the government attorney, as long as they're doing their job, they not even that thoroughly, but as long as they're doing what they're supposed to do, they will not take the file. They'll tell their colleague in Florida that this applicant misrepresented information about their address, their residence, lied under oath to the court, and that destroys the credibility of this applicant, and the case is doomed. Again, there are individuals that do these things and they don't get caught, but it doesn't mean it's
criminal mastermind. Yeah.
Yeah, there is there are people that masterminds that do a lot of criminal stuff and they don't get caught, but is it a good idea? Just like with an example, somebody can fall from the 5-story building and survive. Is it a good idea to jump and they survived and they're well known for that, but is it a good idea to jump off the roof of the 5-story building? No, it's not. Still, you can die, and then the people can get caught and their cases will be denied. And unfortunately, I see that so often. I mean, because they listen to friends, they listen to stories, they listen to the forums. They think that if they change their postal address to some other jurisdiction, that's all they need to do, no matter where they physically are located. Now, there is a.
So I have to move to Honolulu if I live in Houston, like for real.
If you're moving to Honolulu, now if you have it in the back of your mind that by doing that you will also have your court changed and you like the statistics in Honolulu, that nothing wrong with that. But as long as you really are moving there, you have reasons to move there other than just shopping for better immigration judge, then good for you. Do that, and your case is going to move with you. Now you do have to file a motion. Your lawyer has to file a motion to change venue instead of just sitting and waiting that it's going to happen by itself. Most likely it's not. Then you'll have your individual hearing coming up, and at that point, then it's going to, even if you change your address with the immigration court, that doesn't automatically move your case from one court to another. So you do have to file a motion to change venue. But talk to your lawyer about all this and let your lawyer give you best advice as to how to do it and what to do it and how to not do things that would be held against you or would be illegal to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. So, pretty much the last question is how, when we see a judge with 96% denial rate, what would be a strategy as a lawyer for an immigrant? Do you kind of wait until this judge retires or dies? Can you postpone those hearings? Do you?
That's cruel.
No, you don't do that. Okay.
To wait for the judge to die. Yeah.
Well, if the judge is 90 years old or something, then you're okay, let's postpone this hearing. Maybe get
let's say they'll retire.
Okay, yeah, retire. Retire is a better option. Okay, so or do you suggest that if you have other reasons to move, maybe you suggest the person moves, or you really just kind of hustle and make sure that the case is airtight and this judge can have.
Again, that's number one. Okay, mm-hmm. The first priority is to make bulletproof case, prepare it colorfully, gather evidence, hire an expert for the case. I can't believe how many cases in immigration courts are handled without experts, country condition experts, who render opinions, who the judges listen to actually a lot more than to the applicant. But yeah, make your case stronger, make good arguments, prepare for it very well. That's number one. That's probably 80 to 90% of the case. Okay, the importance in the case. The rest as to what do I suggest, I usually don't suggest. I just tell my clients the options. Then if they have real reasons to move to another state, if they want to do it, they can do it. I tell them about the statistics if they bring it up, about the statistics of this judge. If I know the judge personally and I think this judge is not going to be the best judge for the applicant's case, I'll tell the applicant, I'll tell my client, and I'll tell them, if you are planning to move to another, if you are considering to move to another state, or if you have reasons to move, then you might consider that. I don't suggest, I give them the options. But I always tell them that also not to rely again on these mathematical numbers and percentages, because it could be the judge with the highest number of denials could be the best judge. And I always circle back to that, because as I explained, the judge who has been denying lots of cases from Latin American countries where there are lots of applicants who come in for economic opportunities, and then suddenly they see a case that has a real basis, those judges may approve your case, more likely may approve your case to grant asylum than the judge who has been handling lots of strong cases. It's the saying, being a small fish in a big ocean or big fish in a small pond. So it might be better to be a big fish in a small fish in a small pond and big fish in an ocean.
Okay, got you. Well, so that's all for today. So it was me, Kate Panova. I'm an immigration activist and journalist. And Ismail, tell us who you are.
I'm the immigration attorney, principal immigration lawyer at ISLAW firm, and founder of the ISLAW firm.
Can you say like you've been doing like immigration law for how many years?
Yes. So my name is Ismail Shahtakhtinski. I'm an immigration lawyer, a principal immigration lawyer at ISLAW firm, and founder of ISLAW firm. And I've been handling immigration cases for more than 15 years now. And my principal focus in immigration cases is handling asylum cases in immigration courts or affirmatively.
Thank you so much. So please subscribe to Ismail's channel. He has lots of good stuff for immigrants, and he'll answer your questions and comments, I guess, as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kate.
Bye.